The moment Paige throws up into that fountain is not where her story falls apart. It is where young Sheldon finally admits what it has been doing to her for 4 seasons, then buries the confession beneath another joke. Season 6, Episode 13, A Frat Party, a Sleepover, and the Mother of All Blisters. Paige is drunk. She has smoked marijuana. She has just tried to leave with a college student who thinks she is 18. Missy scares him away by saying lower twice when he guesses Paige's age. Then Missy asks why someone smarter than Sheldon is behaving like this. Paige looks at her and says, "What good is being smart if you're all alone?" But the most disturbing part is not that Paige feels alone. It is that almost every adult around her already knew she was alone, yet 2 children were the only people who came looking for her. Before somebody starts an IQ argument, the series never gives Paige a confirmed numerical score. Pretending it does would be fake. What the show gives us is more convincing. Paige is 10 years old when her research on quantum chromodynamics attracts Dr. Sturgis. She stumps Sheldon during their first meeting. She is younger than him. She beats him at chess. She finishes work he is still doing a year later. She becomes part of a university quantum gravity team. Even Missy eventually says out loud what the series has spent years showing us. Paige is smarter than Sheldon. The exact number is irrelevant. They belong in the same intellectual category. Sometimes Paige is clearly ahead. So why does one child end up heading toward a Nobel Prize while the other ends up vomiting into a fountain? The obvious answer is wrong. Paige does not collapse because Sheldon is more intelligent. She collapses because Sheldon is protected by a structure he spends the entire series complaining about. Paige is pushed through structures that value what her brain can produce, then disappear the moment that brain becomes inconvenient. You can see the difference most clearly in Season 5, Episode 17, A Solo Peanut, A Social Butterfly, and the Truth. Paige visits Sheldon's dorm after her professor takes the adult research team out drinking and leaves the child member behind. She expects Sheldon to understand. Instead, she discovers him playing Mario Kart with college friends. Sheldon, the boy who does not want human connection, somehow has a community. Paige, the girl desperately searching for connection, has nobody. That is not a funny reversal. That is the beginning of a sentence being carried out. There is a name for what is happening to her: ambiguous loss. It means losing someone, somewhere, or some version of your life without a clean ending, leaving the grief unresolved. Divorce is one of the clearest examples. The family still exists. Both parents are alive. The houses are still standing. But the world the child depended on is gone, with no funeral, no final goodbye, and no moment when everyone agrees that something has died. Paige keeps losing pieces of her life this way. First her family, then her identity, then her future. But the first loss begins much earlier than most viewers remember. Go back to Paige's first appearance in Season 2, Episode 2, A Rival Prodigy and Sir Isaac Neutron. Do not watch the chess game. Watch the adults in the other room. Sheldon and Paige are introduced as intellectual rivals, so that is where the episode directs your attention. Paige criticizes Sheldon's multiverse theory. She admits she loves being smarter than everyone else. She checkmates him. Sheldon flips the board. Easy comedy. Except while the children are competing, Linda and Barry are exposing the damage already spreading through Paige's home. Linda has abandoned part of her own career because Paige requires so much attention. Barry resents that nearly every conversation revolves around Paige. He says their other daughter, Erica, is being overlooked too. Paige's brilliance is not simply something the family celebrates. It has become the gravitational force pulling the entire family out of shape. That warning arrives in Paige's very first episode, but the show distracts us with Sheldon's tantrum. Then Season 2, Episode 7 turns the warning into something colder. In Carbon Dating and a Stuffed Raccoon, Paige sees Sheldon at a museum lecture and tells him she is happy enough for both of them. She answers the lecturer's question about carbon dating so cleanly that Sheldon has almost nothing useful to add. Then Paige becomes bored and sneaks away, pulling Sheldon into an adventure through the museum. She is fearless, curious, alive. But while Paige is running through that museum, Linda is sitting in a diner with George, sobbing over a pie menu because she believes her marriage is heading toward divorce. George tells her the Cooper strategy for marriage problems. Avoid discussing them. That is played as a joke. It is also a prediction. Paige is learning how scientists determine the age of dead things while her mother is sitting nearby, trying to understand when her marriage started dying. Paige just does not know she is already standing inside the wreckage. Season 2, Episode 10 makes the next clue look harmless. A stunted childhood and a can of fancy mixed nuts puts Paige at Missy's sleepover. Sheldon is doing extra credit chemistry. Paige glances at it and says, "Cute, I did that last year." Then she goes outside, plays with Missy, holds a pretend picnic, and behaves like an ordinary 10-year-old. Sheldon cannot understand why someone that intelligent would waste time acting like a child. Paige can. She even warns him that children who miss childhood can become socially broken adults. Adult Sheldon turns that into a joke about how wonderfully adjusted he became. But Paige is not predicting Sheldon. She is unknowingly describing herself. At this point, she can still move between both worlds. Quantum physics in one room, dolls and tea in another. The tragedy begins when her home breaks apart and she loses the bridge between them. That bridge is gone by Season 3, Episode 12, Body Glitter and a Mall Safety Kit. Paige arrives at the Cooper house with pink hair. Her school performance has collapsed. She has learned that adults overwhelmed by divorce guilt have trouble saying no, so she pushes Mary into taking everyone to the mall. Then she tries to convince Missy to steal body glitter. Watch that sequence without treating Paige as the rebellious guest who is creating trouble. A child whose life has become unpredictable is testing whether any adult will create a boundary strong enough to contain her. She keeps pushing because every successful push proves something terrifying. The adults are no longer in control either. Paige is not chasing glitter. She is searching for evidence that somebody can still stop the world from sliding. Then she finally says it. Sheldon sits beside her after calling Dr. Sturgis for instructions on how to listen. Paige tells him her mother is dating. Her father is acting like a child. Her sister cries constantly. She has to live in 2 different houses. Her grandmother insults her father. School no longer feels important. Then she says, "Everything that used to seem important to me just doesn't anymore." Finally, I feel alone. Sheldon does something unexpectedly kind. He stays. He listens. He brings her a hot beverage. It is one of his best moments. But do not let the warmth of that scene fool you. The person hearing Paige's complete confession is another child who needed to telephone an adult to learn how listening works. No responsible adult hears the whole thing. No one understands that her declining grades are not the problem. They are the smoke coming from a fire nobody has entered. That is ambiguous loss wearing pink hair. Paige has not lost her parents completely. That would almost be easier to name. She has lost the version of them that belonged together. She has lost the home where every important person existed under one roof. She can still visit both parents, which means the loss keeps reopening instead of ending. Every handover between houses becomes another reminder that the old world is gone. But because nobody died, the adults expect Paige to adjust. When she cannot, they begin treating the reaction as the new problem. And the next time she sees Sheldon, the show turns that problem into a punchline. Season 4, Episode 4, Bible Camp and a Chariot of Love. Linda forces Paige to attend after catching her with cigarettes. Paige applies lipstick without permission and calmly tells Sheldon she is having a textbook reaction to her parents' divorce. Sheldon does not ask how she feels. He asks which textbook. That is funny because it is Sheldon. But Paige has just diagnosed her own collapse in the middle of a church camp, and the only person listening is more interested in the citation. Then Sheldon tries to restart their old rivalry. Paige beats him at Bible trivia, but soon she stops caring about the competition. Sheldon keeps provoking her until he targets the one wound guaranteed to work. The possibility that Paige blames herself for the divorce. She punches him. His head hits the floor. Missy later describes the impact with delight. The episode converts Paige's private guilt into Sheldon's black eye. Wait, young Sheldon does not even have a traditional laugh track. Exactly, it does not need one. The series uses reaction shots, comic timing, playful music, and ridiculous side plots to tell you when the pain is supposed to feel safe. Strip those signals away. A child tells everyone she is reacting badly to her parents' divorce. Another child finds the exact point of guilt and presses it deliberately. She responds with violence because she has no safer language available. Then the story moves on, because Sheldon's injury is easier to joke about than Paige's confession. The darkest part is not that Paige hits him. The darkest part is that her punch communicates more than her words did, yet nobody listens to either. But Paige has not lost her intelligence. Season 4, Episode 16 proves it. East Texas Tech asks Sheldon to help recruit her, because President Hagemeyer wants another child prodigy to raise the university's profile. Listen to the motive. Nobody asks whether the university can give Paige stability. Nobody asks whether placing another child among adults might isolate her. Paige is valuable because two prodigies look better than one. She is not entering a community. She is being acquired as an asset. The same adults who praise these children for understanding impossible scientific ideas refuse to ask whether they are emotionally ready for the lives those adults are constructing around them. Then Season 5 reveals exactly what that costs. When Paige joins the quantum gravity team in Season 5, she appears to have won advanced research, a university mentor, a future Sheldon should envy. But she tells him the professor ignores her suggestions. She is not accepted as a scientist. She is displayed as a child genius. Her words are brutal. She is a little girl they trot out like a novelty act to attract funding. Sheldon says his university used him the same way. But when Sheldon insulted a donor, the donor admired his honesty and gave the university even more money. Of course he did. The exact behavior that protects Sheldon makes Paige more isolated. Sheldon does not need approval, so rejection barely touches him. Paige understands social rejection perfectly, so every closed door lands. Same machine, same exploitation, completely different injury. By the end of that episode, Paige decides to drop out. She hides in Sheldon's dorm because she has nowhere else to go and says he is the only person who can help her. Read that again. A child abandons college, cannot face her mother, and chooses the dorm room of another child as her emergency shelter. Missy immediately understands that an adult needs to know. Sheldon refuses because he promised Paige secrecy. He is not the villain there. He is a boy trying to honor the only rule he understands. Missy eventually tells Mary. By the time they reach the dorm, Paige is gone. She leaves a note saying she hopes to find the happiness Sheldon has found. She eventually returns to her mother after several frantic nights, but nothing in her life has been fixed. The crisis merely becomes invisible again. Subscribe to Cooper Untold, because this family buried more evidence inside throwaway jokes than 7 seasons had any right to hold. Paige's final 2 episodes stop hiding the pattern, but they also reveal the one advantage Sheldon possessed that nobody ever counted on an IQ test. Sheldon is surrounded by people who keep showing up. Mary fights schools, professors, pastors, and her own husband for him. George drives him to lectures he does not understand. Meemaw takes him to college. Dr. Sturgis mentors him. Tam tolerates him. Missy protects him even while resenting him. His university gives him a dorm room, attention, and eventually a group of students who invite him to play games. Sheldon experiences loneliness, but he rarely experiences abandonment. Paige's life moves in the opposite direction. Her parents remain in her life, but their marriage conflict reorganizes everything. Her father largely disappears from the active story. Her mother keeps searching for solutions, but the solutions revolve around fixing Paige's behavior. Her university mentor takes the adults drinking and leaves her behind. Paige is never short of people impressed by her brain. She is short of people willing to remain when that brain stops performing on command. That brings us back to Season 6, Episode 13. Paige appears in Sheldon's dorm already drinking. She also has marijuana. Sheldon asks why. Paige tells him life sometimes becomes easier when you refuse to deal with it. Then she lays out the facts. No friends. No place where she belongs. College abandoned, but still too young to build an adult life outside it. So killing brain cells makes it easier. Then she looks at Sheldon and tells the smartest boy in the room to fix her. He cannot. Not because he lacks intelligence, because Paige is finally presenting him with a problem that intelligence did not create and cannot solve. Every adult assumed enough intelligence would protect her. Now Paige is deliberately trying to destroy the very thing they thought made her invulnerable. She takes Sheldon to a fraternity party. The episode surrounds the danger with comedy. Sheldon desperately needs a bathroom. Fraternity students chant, "Pee-wee." The story repeatedly cuts to Meemaw and Dale making jokes about a bedroom cramp. Meanwhile, Paige is a heavily intoxicated minor surrounded by college students who believe she belongs there. Sheldon finds Missy and tries to explain. The music is too loud. Nobody can hear him. So Sheldon unplugs the stereo, faces the entire room, and shouts the one sentence every adult has missed. Her life is terrible. Then the fraternity throws him and Missy out. Think about that image. The room finally goes silent. The truth is spoken clearly. The immediate response is to remove the person who said it. Outside, Paige walks past them with Bradley, a college student heading to another party. He says Paige told him she was 18. Missy forces the truth into the open and he flees. Paige runs. They find her vomiting in a fountain. Missy tells her she was drunk and about to get into a car with a stranger. Paige dismisses the danger because he was attractive. Then Missy asks the question viewers have been asking for years. If Paige is smarter than Sheldon, why is she doing this? Paige gives the answer nobody wanted. Intelligence is worthless to her if it leaves her alone. Missy tells Paige she has her. It is beautiful. It is also horrifying. Missy, another overlooked child, is now the closest thing Paige has to a functioning safety net. A 13-year-old is rescuing another 13-year-old from a college party while the adults are somewhere else. Ambiguous loss has now moved inside Paige herself. The genius is still physically present. The scientific ability has not vanished. But Paige no longer experiences that identity as something that belongs to her. Genius now means expectations. Isolation. Adults showing her off. Professors dismissing her. A family that became consumed by the pressures around her. So she begins trying to kill that version of herself before it can disappoint anyone again. That is why the partying matters. It is not the opposite of her intelligence. It is a desperate attempt to escape the identity everyone built around it. But the final episode does something even colder. It proves her mind is still completely intact, then removes her from the story. Season 6, Episode 16. A stolen truck and going on the lam. Missy steals George's truck and telephones Paige. Paige does not hesitate for long. Come and get me. She has run away before. She helps choose Florida as a destination, suggests false names, and leads a dine and dash. But while they are driving, Missy complains that Sheldon receives everything he wants. Paige answers, "Try being the golden child. Everybody's always expecting big things from you because you're a genius." That line destroys the idea that Paige was simply jealous of Sheldon. Paige does not want his position. She understands the cage hidden inside it. Missy feels invisible because nobody expects anything from her. Paige feels trapped because everyone expects everything from her. Two girls are running from opposite ends of the same adult failure. The police stop them. Paige immediately constructs a detailed lie. Missy confesses almost everything. Later, the officer says she has a child their age and understands. Paige says she would prefer jail to hearing another parent claim they understand. That is not random teenage sarcasm. Paige has spent years hearing adults explain her feelings back to her while continuing the exact conditions producing them. Then comes her final scene. She is sitting in the back of a patrol car. Missy asks how the officer's speed gun works. Paige instantly explains that it calculates speed through the Doppler shift of reflected radio waves. No hesitation. No confusion. No intellectual decline. Missy says, "See? Genius." Paige shoots her a look because the word now feels less like praise than a charge being read against her. That is the last time young Sheldon ever shows Paige. Not graduating. Not recovering. Not finding friends. Not failing permanently either. Sitting in a police vehicle, still brilliant, while adults argue about which family ruined which child. Mary tells Linda she is not convinced the divorce was better for Paige. Linda rejects the connection. Then Mary forbids Missy from seeing Paige again, even though Missy says the runaway plan was hers. The final stable connection Paige has built is cut, because adults classify Paige as the dangerous influence. Adult Sheldon's narration immediately reframes the entire event as the beginning of Missy's difficult period. Paige's pain becomes supporting evidence in another character's story. Then she disappears. And the Big Bang Theory offers no answer. Adult Sheldon can remember losing a Bible bookmark competition to Paige and say that it still bothers him even after winning the Nobel Prize. He remembers the fraternity night decades later, but he never tells us where Paige went. The people behind the show later described Paige as a mirror image of Sheldon, showing a different road a child like him could have taken. But they did not give her story a real ending. The production explanation might be ordinary. The effect on the story is not. Paige existed to demonstrate the alternate outcome. Once the experiment produced its result, the show removed the subject. That is the massive recontextualization. Paige is not a failed version of Sheldon. She is the control group, same intellectual power, different emotional environment. Sheldon's future makes it tempting to believe genius always finds its way. Paige proves that it does not. Sheldon reaches adulthood carrying damage, arrogance, fear, and enormous social limitations, but he reaches it with a path beneath his feet. People drive him to the next institution. They make calls, fight administrators, give him bedrooms, feed him, find him when he disappears, forgive him when he lashes out. Paige keeps receiving opportunities without belonging, attention without safety, and praise without anyone asking whether she can survive what the praise demands. The difference between the Nobel ceremony and the patrol car is not IQ. It is who kept showing up. Then the show gives the audience Paige's final ambiguous loss. She is not confirmed dead, not confirmed successful, not confirmed broken. She is simply absent. That uncertainty is why viewers keep inventing endings for her. Some imagine she recovered. Some think she abandoned science. Some create darker theories because the silence feels too deliberate to be harmless. But the cruelest possibility is also the simplest. Paige continued living somewhere beyond Sheldon's attention, carrying a mind capable of understanding the universe, while still trying to understand why every place that celebrated that mind eventually made her feel unwanted. Put the future Paige deserved in the comments, because the show left that space empty. Sheldon became proof of what genius can do when people keep showing up.